Okay, so I'll be starting recording na po. So once again po, no, so good afternoon. So welcome po sa ACC 111. And we are now in week 17 to 19 po, no. So this is identifying and analyze the basic consideration, component, and characteristics of corporation business. So we're done with sole proprietorship, your single proprietorship. We're done also with partnership, no? And the last one for the coverage ng HCC 111 po, so yung basic financial accounting and reporting is yung corporation account. So this is just mga basic discussions po ng corporation accounting kasi this will be discussed po sa inyuhang or extensively this will be discussed sa inyuhang I think second year na ninyo na subject. Okay? So hoping na kusog akong net ko. Ayan. So the next one here is yung definition of corporation. So corporation is the largest and most complex types of business organization. Okay? So largest among yung dalawa, no? So yung aside from the sole proprietorship at saka yung sa partnership. So in terms of this one, pag sinabi nating owners, okay? So owner for a single proprietorship, no? Then if it is for partnership naman, partners ang mga owners ng corporation. While in this case, pag corporation, the term used is shareholders or other books mention stockholders. Okay? So it's because they have shares. Ayan. So they have their own shares. So in this case po, pag sinabi natin share capital naman, this is the ownership held by shareholders evidenced by a share certificate. Okay? So pag single proprietorship, specific name lang man, no? Pag partnership naman, specific name lang rin po. But in this case po, in terms of capital structure o yung capital itself, we use share capital in a corporation setting. Okay? So once again, corporation, this is an artificial being created by law. So meron siyang specific law promulgating the corporation here in the Philippines. So having the rights of succession, so it means to say it can be transferred from one generation to another generation, and the powers, attributes, and properties are expressly authorized by law. So syempre, all of its authoritative guidance, okay, even yung mga bylaws are explicitly mentioned in the law. So I do believe you do have your law subject governing the corporation. So meron kayong specific subject, law subject for corporation. No? So I think ginaisa pag nilagay sa partnership and corporation law. And any person, partnership, association, or corporation, single or jointly with others but not more than 15 in number, may organize corporation for any lawful purpose or purposes. So any person, again, even partnership, association, or corporation can jointly create corporation. And then, sabi nga dito, no corporation name ayan, shall be allowed by the commission if there is a distinguishable from that already reserved or registered to the use of another corporation. So sabi dyan, class, wala joy corporation na nakasulay same na name. Kasi if every corporation are unique, so they have their own specific name and even listed in the Securities and Exchange Commission. So even ganyan guys, no, before mo magpa-register yan guys, so kailangan pa i-submit ang newhang name, i-check nila sa system kung nabay kapareha, kung walay kapareha, proceed to the next step. Kasi dapat daw, sabi dyan, no corporate name shall be allowed by the commissioner na kapareha sila, same. Okay. So, a name is not distinguishable when it comes to certain of following. So, dapat merong corporation, company, corporated, limited liability, or abbreviation of such words. So, punctuations, articles, so this one, so dapat present. So, the commission may summarily use the corporation to immediately cease and dismiss from using the name and require the corporation to register the new one. So, ang sinabi dyan, itong commission class specifically mentioned is the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC. Okay. Si SEC ang ginapasabot niya diri ana commission, guys. So, si SEC is the governing body uh, to regulate the corporation here in the Philippines. So, the commission also caused removal for any visible signages and remarks label frame. So, medyo kung ano man siya, no? Technical issues regarding corporation. And then, ito, importante ito siya. The corporation can be operative at the date of certificate of incorporation. So, as long as you have received the certificate of incorporation coming from the SEC, okay, you can actually start operating as corporation. So, pero take a look at this one. But if a corporation does not formally organize with or commence its business within 5 years, so dapat maka-commence na sila within 5 years at the date of incorporation, its certificate of incorporation shall be deemed revoked as the day of the following at the end of the 5 year period. So it will be returned back. So murag return back to the sender. So again, dapat after the creation of the corporation itself, dapat within 5 days maka-operate na sila. Otherwise, their certificate or their license will be revoked. Okay? So however, if the corporation has commenced and then later on wala na po nag-operate for a period of at least 5 years, okay? So meron silang due notice coming from the commission, the SEC, and they are placed under delinquent status. So yung kanina, if he was not able to operate within 5 years from the date of incorporation, the corporation is deemed to be, or shall we say, yung license will be revoked. But in case of nag-operate nga sila, pero subsequent year, pagka next year na naman, at inoperative na naman sila for 5 years, so magiging delinquent ang ilang status and they need to apply explanation, okay, shall have a period of 2 years to resume its operation and comply all the requirements of the commission. Okay. And the attributes of corporation by its definition, di ba sabi kanina, that the corporation is an artificial being. So meron siyang artificial personality. So like us, sa persons, ang tawagan na nila is natural person. Kita, natural person man ta. But in this case po, so we are natural being. But in this case po, yung corporation, meron din siyang separate personality. Ang tawag sa kanya is meron siyang artificial being. So the personality is separate and apart from the individual, shareholders, or members. So para siyang accounting entity concept na that the corporation itself is separate and distinct from the shareholders or members. And then, created by operation of law, so yeah, this requires special authority granted from the SA. And then meron siyang right of succession. Nga, sabi ko kanina, the capacity of corporation to continue existing business subject to the period in the articles of incorporation. Kasi nga, it can be transferred to any person anytime. Okay? Unlike with the partnership kasi, mutual agency, di ba? They need to consent. They need to have consent among the partners to transfer the ownership. So that's why pag na ay third party nga moabot, given na ay mamatay, na ay mag-withdraw, okay, bungkag na ang partnership, di ba? But in this case, okay lang kasi sa corporation, it can be transferred. So meron siyang succession. So still, no need to create another corporation pag na mamatay, withdraw, o di kaya na ay third party, okay, under corporation. Ayan. See pa rin, no, it has the powers, attributes, and properties expressly authorized by law. So these are the different advantages of corporation. We have discussed this one pero sa partnership na. And these are the specific information provided in the articles of incorporation. So sa partnership, di ba, articles of co-partnership. So dali naman, this is articles of incorporation. So the corporation set. And for the bylaws, meron din silang specific bylaws promulgated even that. So diri guys, specify ganino kung kano sa ang ilang regular meetings, regular special meetings. So mura ni siya og syllabus sa company, no, sa corporation. And these are the following powers of corporations. It has, di ba, it has a separate personality. So it has, or the corporation itself, meron din siyang powers or rights. Uh, and let's discuss the different classes of corporation. So corporation has two major classes. So it may be pro, for profit or not for profit. Or shall we say, stock or non-stock corporation. So pag sinabi natin stock corporations, ayan, so are those which have capital stock and divided into shares. So meron silang shares and syempre this is authorized to distribute to the holders, especially under the Securities and Exchange Commission ruling, share dividends, allotment, surplus, and even syempre they are for profit. So on the basis of the shares held, all other corporations are considered as non-stock corporations. So usually these are not for-profit corporations. Usually lang po ha. So one where no part of its income is distributable kasi they are not created for profit. They are just created for maybe for foundation or attributable purposes. So as dividends, members, trustees, or officers. So, ang tawag sa kanilang mga uh, owners, shall we say owners, so members, trustees, or officers. Yung kanina, in terms of stock corporation, ang tawag sa kanilang mga owners is syempre mga shareholders or stockholders. Yung kanina. Dito, yung nakalagay na. Again, non-stock corporations, so yun yan, usually these are not-for-profit corporations. So example of this one is yung mga charitable institution, okay. So religious, ayan. So even the diocese na sa Roman Catholic, na they are actually a corporation, one-man corporation, okay. Leaded by yung bishop, no? So education, professional, cultural, fraternal, literary, specific, social, civic, similar purpose. So like the industry, agricultural, like chambers, or even combination thereof. So usually they are created not for profit. So sa tawag sa kanila po is non-stock corporation. And now, this is new. Okay, ito, bagong-bago lang po ito. Pero, kailan ba ito? I think this was last 2019. Okay? So, this is the one-person corporation. Diba sabi kanina, corporation may have a maximum of 15. But in this case po, you can actually create your own corporation even though ikaw lang po yung owner. Okay? So, that is one-person corporation. So, bagong-bago pa lang po ito. Yan. So, you can now create your own corporation even ikaw lang isa. So, is a corporation with a single, yun nga, single. Ayan. So, grabe no. Uso pre diri ang single stockholder. So, provide that only a natural person, so natural person in a sense that like us, no? So, dili pwede ang partnership mag-create of corporation, even the corporation itself will create another corporation kasi nga dapat natural person, trust or esteem from one person corporation. So, this is not required to have a minimum authorized capital. So they are not required to have minimum required authorized stock by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And then, aside from this one, banks, quasi-banks, mga pre-need, trust, insurance, public and even publicly listed companies, and unchartered and even government-owned. So example ng mga government-owned corporation, guys, yung mga GOCC, atong mga SSS, di ba? Those are example of GOCC. Like SSS, PhilHealth, PHIC, tsaka yung Pag-ibig, HDMF. And even the Tagum Water District, this is a local GOCC. So, government-owned and controlled corporation. And controlled corporation, grabe, sumpay dito guys. Putol ko. So, GOCCs means government-owned and controlled corporations. Ayan, example of this one, yung mga SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, HDMF, no? And even the water district here in Tagum Water District, they are not, okay, incorporated as one person. So, bawal silang in a one-person corporation. Okay. So again, provided that only natural person who is licensed to exercise profession may not organize as one-person organization. Same pa rin, no? Di ba, remember, any profession, bawal na bawal po na mag-create sila ng corporation. Kasi only they are required to be registered sa pinakataas lang is yung partnership, right? So yung GPP na, General Professional Partnership. So bawal yung profession will create okay, e-corporation. So bawal na bawal. And same with the partnership po, meron din silang de facto corporation for saan yun isa na wala siguro. De facto corporation, this is corporation, due corporation of any corporation claiming in good faith. So these are legal corporation. Okay? And corporation by estopel naman, ayan, so all persons who assumes act of corporation knowing it without the authority. So nagbuot lang sila ng corporation without any license coming from the Securities and Exchange Commission. That is corporation by estopel. Close corporation naman, so this is actually termed as family-owned corporation. So mga family-owned corporation. So this goes, yun yung sabi dito. So any corporation incorporated as close corporation except mining, so bawal yung mga mining companies and even mga stock exchange, mga publicly listed corporation, even mga banks to create close corporation. And so bawal lang po specific, like for example, di ba, specific lang po family, so that is bawal na bawal po yung mining, oil, stocks, exchange, banks, insurance. And educational corporation shall be governed by special laws, general provision of this code. So we will not specific discuss this one. Asan yung specific particular dito? Okay, kani-kani lang guys. So the components of corporation. So kanilang yung mga team na nakatundi pang shortcut na kung agad niya. Okay. So naka-record na nino, review na lang. The corporation are those who compose of corporators, corporators ang tawag sa mga members o yung mga stockholders or shareholders in a stock corporation. Okay? So it is not required to have minimum required capital stock as a member in a non-stock corporation. So incorporators are these stockholders or members mentioned in the articles of incorporation as originally forming, composing the corporation and who are signatories thereof. So ito yung incorporators, ang tawag naman for those corporators who are originally shareholders. So sila yung nag-create ng corporation. So ang tawag sa kanila is incorporators. Okay, so kato nag-create sa corporation, kato mga stockholders o shareholders may nag-create sa corporation, ang tawag sa kanila is incorporator. Ayan, incorporator. Shareholders are owners, ayan sabi dyan, shareholders are owners of a shares of stocks in a corporation. And members naman ang tawag sa owner in a non-stock corporation. Subscribers are those who have subscribed, no, who have agreed to pay a share in a future time. So, meron silang utang sa company. So, shares ang yun ang utang, no? So, that's the subscribers. Promoters naman, those who are, so from the word itself, promote, no, who bring the formation of the organization of the corporation. Underwriters naman, usually these are mga middlemen, no? It may be investment bankers, even partners who are selling stocks to the buyers. So they sell stocks of the corporation. Ang tawag sa kanila is underwriters. And you do have here the different independent director is a director of a corporation that will protect the owner from any unnecessary acts from other directors. So these are the different components of the corporation setting. Rights of a shareholder, syempre, they have the right to receive stocks, especially even getting new, fresh stocks, attend, syempre, to vote in a person or by proxy, elect and remove directors, adopt, amend, repeal the bylaws, so even preemptive right na. So in this case po, they have the right first to buy a certain or new shares before niya i-present sa public. Sila ang una makapalit sa mga shares before i-present sa public. So tawag dyan is preemptive right. Receive dividends when declared, siyempre, same pa rin no, sa partnership, diba, bawal na bawal mawalay partner makashare sa profits. Same din siya. Dapat makashare po sila. Diri in this case, ang tawag sa kanilang profits here guys, or sharing, is yung dividends. Profit sharing ito ha. Then inspect corporate books, right to participate upon distribution. So holders of non-voters, we do have here the specific uh, voting matters. Ito na. Ito yung isa sa mga pinaka-importante, no? What are the different types of shares? Di ba sabi natin kanina, shareholder ang tawag, okay, asan siya? Shareholders or owners ang tawag sa merong shares in a stock corporation. The question now is, ano-ano yung mga shares? So before that one, let's have muna, okay, ayan. So par value share, so this is share that has a minimum issue price. No par value naman, so share without minimum issue price. And minimum stated value share, so syempre pag no par siya, at least man lang meron po siyang minimum stated value per share. So no par share that has no stated price and a minimum issue price of this one is 5 pesos. Voting and non-voting shares naman, shares that has the right to vote and no right to vote respectively. And ito yung ginagamit na terminology along the way sa corporation setting. Ordinary and preference shares. So ordinary and preference shares that has yung isa, ito ordinary, it has a share that has a voting right. Ang tawag dyan is yung ordinary shares. Okay? The ordinary shares. And share naman that has privilege over the others, especially in terms of dividends, sila dapat ang preferred sa dividends, sa liquidation. Ang tawag sa kanila naman is yung preference shareholders or preference share. Okay? Sabi dyan, respectively, but preference share had no right to vote kasi nga only ordinary share, okay, ang merong voting right. Promotion share naman is a given share fee for promoters. Treasury shares naman so is a buyback share of the corporation. Yeah. Convertible share that has a capacity to be converted into from capital, mahimo siyang liability. Ayan. So redeemable shares naman, so which may be purchased or by the corporation from holders in such shares upon expiration of its period. So ako lang ipa-familiarize sa inyo dili guys, pinaka-importante no, ang kaning ordinary and preference at saka ito treasury shares. So ito. Ayan. So business structure here, the shareholders or members votes to re-elect board of directors or trustees. The board of director trustees will elect officers. From board of directors down to elected officers and down to employees. That is the chain of command in a or business structure in a corporation setting. The president of the corporation must be director and hire secretary and treasurer as he cannot act as treasurer or secretary. Okay. So you do have here the different corporation books, but we will not discuss this one by one. Let's discuss ito. Yan. The starting competition or the journal entries for share capital. So all other entries related to purchases down to selling guys, same lang pa rin yung process. So what's the difference ng sole proprietorship at saka sole proprietorship na journal entries at saka yung mga corporation journal entries is that in terms of share capital. Okay? So share that are subscribed This is not paying, this is paid. Sorry, dyan. Paid in or secured by the shareholders. So these are divided. So this is divided into the following. Legal capital, which is the contributed capital by a shareholder in case of par value shares. The legal capital is the par value of all issued and subscribed. But in case of no par value, all the considerations. Usually, na yung mga problem guys na mga na siya kung ilang legal capital, if it is par value na shares, all issued and subscribed share at par value will be the amount of legal capital. If it is no par value, total considerations. Share premium naman is the excess. Ayan. Of the total consideration received from par value, authorized share capital is the maximum number. Take note lang yan, that is the maximum number of share that the corporation can issue. Issued shares naman are those capital that sold, paid, and may be in the hands of the shareholders or in the corporation itself. So these are the shares na naana sa kamot sa mga shareholders or stockholders. Subscribed share capital naman, so these are authorized shares but not yet fully paid. So yun nga, may naikutang si shareholder for the share capital or di kaya na-receivable si company from the shareholders because they are not yet fully paid. Outstanding shares naman are those capital that are sold and paid. Treasury shares naman, so these are yung binayback ng company. So are those capital that are sold and paid but it's in the hands of the corporation. So gipalit ni or gibalik ni ni corporation. So consideration for the issuance of stocks maybe, so ito yung specific discussion guys. First one is if it is actual cash paid for the corporation. Properties intangible received by the corporation and necessary or convenient for use lawful purpose is at fair valuation. So any non-cash items received by the corporation, same pa rin sa partnership, kaya it is at fair value. The labor performed usually rendered to corporation previously incurred indebtedness. So pwede po din ibayad sa corporation kay shares. Amount transferred from unrestricted retained earnings, outstanding shares exchanged, and shares of stocks of another corporation, and other generally accepted form of consideration. These are all the different consideration for the issuance of stocks. So the first one, let's try this one. If merong issuance of shares of stock at cash payment or cash paid to the corporation. So suppose like for example, the cash at par, suppose that the share had a fair value of 100 per share and sold 200,000 shares. So the entry will be, and so ano yung entry? So since you receive cash, you debit cash for 2 million, sige ka ng 2 million. Okay. Diba pila ganito ang iyahang shares gani guys? 10,000 shares niya. Multiplied by per share, par value. So 100 par value. Okay. So if that's the case, since the par value and the per share is the same or are the same pala. So that's why 200,000 tama ba times 100 is 2 million. So let's check daw sa to ang cute na calculator. So usually diri guys sa sa corporation mga discussion diri if first discussion pa lang din niya guys ang katong mga journal entries. So like for example this one. So 20,000 shares multiplied by 100,000 so nasa 2 million as the amount to debit cash and credit ordinary shares. So the entry here, pag na ay issuance of share capital, you debit cash. Diba, mura ni siya ang initial investment, guys. So, dali, di ba, pag sa partnership o even gani sa single or sole proprietorship, you debit cash and you credit. Like, for example, ako ang nag-invest, so you debit ka in capital. But in this case, we are not using yung kaing capital. Okay? So we use here ordinary shares or even preference shares. So you debit cash and credit ordinary shares amounting to 2 million for the total consideration and 2 million at par. Now, if it is above par value, kumbaga, ang shares gibaligya siya more than the minimum required per share. Diba ang par that is the minimum required per share. So the entry will be, like if for example, suppose that the share had par value of 100 per share and sold 20,000 shares for 150 per share. So magkano yung par value? Diba 100? So 100 yung minimum price ng share. But in this case, pila yung gibaligya guys. Ang pagbaligya niya kay 150 per share. So that's why above par value. So ano daw yung entry if it is above par value? So the entry now, you debit cash for the total consideration. Pila di ang total consideration niya Andrea guys? Diba? 30,000 man siya, no? Adiki na lang niya. Times, pila gani ang iyahang total consideration, di ba? Kaning 150, no? 150. Ayan. So 20,000 shares multiplied by 150 per share. So nasa 3 million, right? Diba? Check natin kung 3 million ba siya. 20 times 150, no? So meron siyang 3 million as the total consideration. And for ordinary share, take note for this one, guys, that the ordinary shares or even preference share, they are issued at par. So note, lagyan ko na lang ng note. So take note that ordinary shares, and preference shares are accounted at par value. Okay? So kung magkano yung par value, that will be the amount of the ordinary or preference shares. Like if, for example, the ordinary shares is 2 million. Asagi ka ng 2 million. So 20,000, right, shares, no? Multiplied by pila gani ang par value niya gani, di ba? 100. So 100. Ayan, so 2 million lang. Now, sir, saan man sir ang sobra, ang excess? So, ang sobra ani niya, guys, dili gain. Okay? But ang term niya is share premium ordinary shares. Kasi by definition, di ba, ng share premium is the excess of total consideration received from par value. That's why you credit share premium ordinary shares for 1 million for the excess. So, kumbaga, 3 million. Ayan. Diba 3 million yung consideration, total consideration, or yung cash na receiving company minus the ordinary shares at par. So, meron siyang sobra or excess na 1 million. Okay? 1 million. Ayan. And then, as you can see, ni automatic lagi siya og cash of no par, sir. Wala day below par value, sir. Wala day below par. Okay, guys, here in the Philippines, bawal po yung below par value, below the minimum price. Take note for that one na bawal po siya. Okay, let's have this one. Another one. Assuming na yung kanina, meron siyang minimum required price or par. How about pag no par value siya? Wala siya minimum required price of the shares or per share. So like if for example, suppose that sold 20,000 shares for 800. So you just debit cash for 800 and credit ordinary shares for 800. Yan. But if the no par value share is meron siyang stated value, okay? Yung stated value is in lieu with the par value, walang given na par value, what will be the entry? So the entry will be, so generally, so suppose that the sold 30,000 shares for 800 and the stated value is 20 per share. Generally, di ba, yung entry, pag wala ni siya, kani si stated value, kani siya, the entry will be you just debit cash, then credit ordinary shares. Since meron siyang stated value, ayan, so the entry will now be you debit cash for 800 and you credit the ordinary shares at stated value here. Magkano yung stated value? 20,000 multiplied by 20 per share. Okay. So that's it. That is 400,000. So tama ba na 400? Let's try the video. Second be of error ni sin 1 times 20. So 20. So you do have 400,000. Okay. So the ordinary share is at stated value. Now, what will happen sa excess po? So same pa rin po yung kanina. The excess will be credited to share premium ordinary shares. So you credit share premium ordinary shares for 400. Ayan. Okay. So now, we're done with the par value. No? Ayan. We're done also with no par value. How about if it is subscription? Okay. So mura giutang ni customer no inga na nga case pero diri mura siya giutang ni shareholder ni stockholder. Kasi nga okay, tanawan ni din na siya receivable. Okay. So subscription is any contract for acquisition of the unissued stocks in existing corporation or corporation to be formed. Shall be deemed subscription within the meaning of the title, notwithstanding the fact that pinaklo man yung pag-define yung parties refer to it as a purchase or some other contract. Yeah. So like here, for example, suppose that Anna subscribe 1,000 shares. Okay. At 120 per share and meron siyang par value na 80 per share. So the entry will be, instead of using cash, di ba? Cash yung kanina kasi si shareholder nagbayad dahil siya. But in this case, pag i-subscribe pa siya guys, pag subscription, you debit subscription receivable. So nakakay-collectahon. Si company, si corporation na siya collectahon sa shareholder or stockholder na si Ana. Okay? So you debit 120 for the total consideration. So how much total shares ba? Diba the total shares is 1,000 multiplied by 120 per share. So nasa 120,000 na subscription receivable. And you credit same pa rin, no? Diba? Remember, pag share capital gani guys, even ordinary or preference share, they are measured at par value. That's why here 1,000 multiplied by par value na 80. So meron siyang 80,000. And a share premium ordinary shares the excess of 120 minus 80,000. So nasa 40,000 as the share premium ordinary shares. Okay? Paid 40% of the subscription. So if that's the case po, syempre 40% aning 120. Ayan. So nasa 48,000. Diba? So 120,000 times 40%. So nag-partial payment si shareholder.